comfortable here at home, and we hope that we will soon get to hear her on the global stage. Now more than ever, it is essential for us to invest in and provide opportunities for young people. The African creative industry is more than just art, music, and fashion. It's a powerful engine for economic growth, cultural exchange, and innovation. But as we nurture this sector, we must ask ourselves, how can we expand markets, facilitate exchanges, and create avenues for trade that allow our creatives to thrive? How can we invest in the whole value chain of the creative industry so that we can, at last, as Africa, tell our own stories? Access to capital is a significant barrier to the growth of Africa's creative industries. To transform artistic vision into tangible impact, targeted financial mechanisms, such as grants and venture capital, are essential. So last but not least, let's ask ourselves, how do we ensure that it is both profitable for our artists and sustainable for the economy? Exposure, after all, does not pay the bills. To our youth here today, and to policymakers, and to all of us stakeholders and patrons of the arts, today we are not here to talk about creativity for its own sake. Our assignment is to reimagine how we can expand these industries in ways that drive sustainable development, generate jobs, and elevate our cultural presence on the global stage. I encourage each one of you to think big, to challenge conventional ideas, and to push the boundaries of what Africa's creative economy can achieve. Yes, art is beautiful, but wouldn't it be even more powerful if it also fueled economic growth and lasting opportunity? With these words, I thank you for your attention and invite you all to join in this important conversation. I hope that during your stay in Kigali, you will also take the time to explore our beautiful, vibrant city. May Kigali inspire you as we share, learn, and envision together. Murakoze, thank you, merci.
Another round of applause for Elodie Chami, please. The next person on the podium is Sandrine Mutoni. She's our Minister of State, let me say it correctly, Minister of State for Youth and Arts. Now, some of you have noticed we have a lot of women in this government. Actually, we have the highest female representation in the world. In the world. It's kind of an oxymoron for me when people say we have given power to women, because I was raised in an African family, like you guys, and nothing happens at home if mama is not okay. So in Rwanda, we just put that in government. Otherwise, black women, African women, you have always had the power. Always. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Sandrine Mutoni.
Good afternoon, everyone. Bon après-midi. Mwiriwe. I have to say, Hervé, I was a little bit worried about what you were going to say about me, so thank you. Honorable ministers, senior government officials, heads of institutions, distinguished guests, creatives, young innovators, lovers of Africa, again, a warm welcome to Kigali, Rwanda. It is such an honor for me to be able to stand here in front of you to discuss this very important topic of the creative industries. And as you all know, Africa has always been a source of inspiration for many, as we always use the art of storytelling to pass down the wisdom of ancestors, preserving our heritage, our joys, our struggles, and our victories. Today, we are seeing that our storytelling traditions have been embraced by modern art forms, allowing our stories to echo the beauty, the complexity, and the richness of our lived experiences across generations. However, the immense potential of our creative industries continues to meet structural challenges, hindering its full realization. In fact, when we look at figures, we realize that today Africa accounts for about 1.5% of the global creative economy, although we are home to close to 20% of the world's population. If you do the math, something is just not mathing. So this statistic should be a strong invitation to take bold steps towards nurturing a creative revolution, one through which innovative policies will sustainably support its proven ability to contribute to education, to skills development, dignified job creation, increased tourism, and the shaping of our national identities. So, honorable guests, we do owe our future generation to start treating this sector as a driving force for socioeconomic transformation while showcasing African excellence globally. So as we reimagine this future, let us also protect our intellectual property. Let us strengthen educational reforms that nurture creative skills and develop digital platforms that amplify African voices. Let us imagine an Africa where national and international investors view art not as a risk, but as a valuable opportunity that strengthens our economies and enrich our cultures. Indeed, Africa's creative economy is a tapestry of interconnected roles, each contributing to a thriving ecosystem. If we just take for a moment the example of a single music concert, or even as we saw this morning during the opening ceremony, any event where we are celebrating creativity is an event that requires different skills. So you would see that you need the event coordinator, you need a production manager, you need a stage supervisor, you need an audiovisual technical team, costume designers, makeup artists, dancers, choreographers, set designers. The list goes on and on and on and on. And we all know that each one of those people is essential to creating impactful experiences that not only entertain a room, but actually fuel local economies and build valuable skills. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, as we reimagine a brighter future for our CCIs, let us move towards setting the right economic and legal frameworks through just a few single steps that I believe are quite common around the continent. We need to invest in capacity building. We need to understand that this entire ecosystem needs to be seen as an entire entity that needs to move together. So whether we are talking about the cultural managers who are trained in proper negotiations to protect the right of the artists, whether we're looking at the technicians who make performances so much more enjoyable, and last but not least, to the lawyers, we need the lawyers who are proficient in IP regulations and negotiations. Number two, we need to build the right kind of infrastructure. This way we can contribute to the growth of cultural tourism, for creative to present their work in an environment that will be conducive for the next generation to set new trends. Number three, we need to establish funds, as DG Elodie just mentioned a few minutes ago. We need funds and other funding facilities taking into consideration the specificities of youth, women, and other creatives who will be applying to them. And last but not least, we need to establish stronger collaboration frameworks. This way, all of us around the continent and beyond can allow our respective creative economies to work with one another with less bureaucratic processes, and of course encourage the free flow of people, ideas, and products within our continent. So once again, esteemed audience, as I conclude, let us leave this summit determined to work together to make Africa a global leader in the creative economy. And I trust that the panelists who will be speaking after me will give us the blueprint to get there. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Sandrine. Another round of applause for Sandrine Motoni, please. Now, a warm welcome in Rwanda would not be a warm welcome without music, as it is per tradition now in Youth Connect Africa. And I would like to welcome on stage these gentlemen and ladies that you see on stage. Our Creative Connection, it's a collaborative musical performance from Art Rwanda, 3rd edition artist with Aline Sano, Christian Wukuru, and various musicians. Please give them a round of applause as they set up. which at the same occasion, when you see her coming in, her name is Christiane Vukuru. She's going to be our first speaker, and she's going to talk about her personal journey, so share a journey as young African artists, challenges, opportunities, Artranda Wahanzi Initiative, and the future of African music. She's going to share her vision for the future of African music, discuss the importance of collaboration, innovation, and culture exchange using her own experiences. She will be doing that right after the performance as they get ready. Can we have the singers on stage? I'm running out of jokes here. You guys better. You guys get on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Aline Sano, Christiane Vukuru, Mani Martin, and various musicians. The stage is yours, guys.
Urira bugacya umunsi ukaza ukijima, harwana no kurya ubundi iminsi ikicuma, ntajya yita ku bimuca intege, ibyishimo ntibyashyira imbere, ibyisa bibona nk'ibyambuka, icyizere nicyo yimika, shimira ubutoya ngo udafite ejo agumana umuco.
Ibi mwitambikaho ya doni itabura, hari igihe hirya hino byanga, akirya ndetse akanimara, akoshenga akigomwa aguye arabyuka agatsinda amateka, ahora atungura bifuza kumutaza, ahora atungurana.
Ubuzima ni bwiza kutibabaza, nubona amahirwe jya wishima, ukoreshe neza igihe cyawe urimo, ejo cyangwa ejo bundi wagenda. Oya mama wikwifunga ryoherwa n'ubuzima.
Bohoka bohoka, simbuka, burya wanaguruka, ririmba ririmba, si ngombwa kuririmba nka marayika. Bohoka bohoka, simbuka, burya wanaguruka, ririmba ririmba, si ngombwa kuririmba nka marayika.
Niyo bwacya yibaza byinshi kuzazaza, agumana icyizere cy'uko bizamuhira. I'm a winner, my mama told me that. Girl, you are the greatest, nothing can take you down.
Ntukajya uhangayika bizaza, mu byo ukora horana umurava. Ibi mwitambikaho yabyo ntibyabura, hari igihe jya hino byaga, akirya ndetse akanibara, akoshenga akigomwa,
yarabyuka agatsinda amateka, ahora atungura bifuza kumutaza, ahora atungurana. Ubuzima ni bwiza kutibabaza, nubona amahirwe jya wishima, koresha neza igihe cyawe urimo, ejo cyangwa ejo bundi wagenda. Oya mama wikwifunga ryoherwa n'ubuzima.
bohoka bohoka, simbuka, burya wanaguruka, ririmba ririmba, si ngombwa kuririmba nka marayika. Bohoka bohoka, simbuka, burya wanaguruka, ririmba ririmba si ngombwa kuririmba nka marayika bohoka simbuka burya wanaguruka ririmba ririmba si ngombwa kuririmba nka marayika bohoka simbuka burya wanaguruka ririmba ririmba si ngombwa kuririmba nka marayika Just be free, be free.
intende ntege intege ziri mu bugondo nyamuragiro rwagura rw'iwacu mubyi yametse kwirakwire muboko yanjye gukorere ukundi uryo utera imbere igihugu kitaheza incike urasa neza usana bike ndatega imitima n'uwanamije ntibankundira kuvusha ahubwo bankundira kudatinya nivuganye kinyangara gatatu upfuye imonda hano mutsinze harakongotse hano mutege ikigembe harakobaye na n'ubu ndacyari umuhigi wa rwego rwa nyirandege utuma urutoki rutanga ahubwo rero
a youth-led chorus starts to swell. And with power and hope, they break the shell, forging futures bold. Each young creator and each skilled hand, they bridge and bind, connecting cultures. Connecting cultures. A young Africa, wise and rich under the white skies. We make mistakes, we learn and become better, better versions of self, better versions of our nations, better version of
nariye gataka gasasiye umutima ngendana aho naboneye izuba mu mutima w'Afrika aho ibibondo bisekera ni muri Africa.
Shemama Africa. Shemama Africa. Shemama Africa. Shemama Africa.
Today and forever, we can make anything go anywhere. You and I together, open up the heart of the world. Cause all we need is a human nature. What are we waiting for?
Shemama Africa. Shemama Africa. Shemama Africa. Shemama Africa.
Afrika nyumbani, Mwenyezi Mungu alitupatia, tukona amani, tunajibu kuhudumia, upendo lako tunataka nami, tunajivumilia kuwa wako.
Shemama Africa. Shemama Africa. Shemama Africa. Shemama Africa.
Nisho, Shemama Africa. Shemama Africa. Shemama Africa. Shemama Africa. Shemama Africa. Africa.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I think I love the energy in the room. I think we've had our chance, our opportunity to sing, but we did not give you a chance. Can we sing again, all over again, Shemama Africa? Because that's our motherland. That's our mother continent. So I'm gonna sing a little and then you accompany me. Do we agree? Do we all agree? Shemama Africa. Shemama We go again, Shemama Africa. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Wukuru and I'm an artist. And I can't believe I'm here. There've been times where artistry wasn't respected as a profession. There've been times where we met people who did not believe in us, but look at us. In front of nations, inspiring nations. Your Excellencies, valuable guests, I'm so happy and privileged to be in front of you. And I want to inspire someone tonight. I want to be able to inspire someone tonight, a dreamer, someone who's been looking forward to this event and has been looking for an aspiration to work forward to. I hope you go home not as you came, inspired and ready to do great things. I was invited to share about my story as an artist, how I grew from someone who did not want to be a singer in the first place. I didn't want to do music as my career because I thought it would not be a profession for me that is worth respecting, that is worth coming in front of great leaders like you. But I'm so happy to be here talking as an artist. And I would like to tell you that we have a lot to think, to look forward to as artists. We have our highs. When we sing and we see happy faces in front of us, it hits the right places. But then we also have our shortcomings, our challenges that when we go home, we're like, do we have to go through this? Do we really want to go forward? Do we need to make another step further? I remember, I'm not here to complain because we are solution makers, aren't we? We are a room full of solution makers, but I want us to address them strategically. I'm here to talk about the two challenges I meet as an artist. It's the challenge to be seen and the challenge to keep the momentum once seen. How do I remain relevant in front of you as someone who started dreaming to be big? If there's something that is very, very, very much disappointing is when you're doing something and being not seen, being not appreciated. And sometimes when you do it, someone else takes the credit for that. That steals your joy as a creative. It steals your joy as someone altogether. Every profession, if you do something and then your supervisor gets the credit, you know how it feels. But I would like to tell you, you create your own space and you continue. You continue to do it even if it's not sin. There will be time when truth shall pass through fire and not be burnt. Hallelujah. Am I preaching? There will be time when they will see the person behind the work. You just have to keep on. If there's something that always bothers is when time takes time. You see, you're telling people about things and you're like, they're telling you, hey, Christian, you're doing this, why are you not singing? I'm like, time is taking its time. It's really frustrating. You're doing something, time is taking its time to reach the right momentum that you would want to reach, but then trust the process. And the process shall know that we trust it when time comes. And the next challenge would be, how do I keep the momentum once I'm seen, once I'm here on this stage in front of you? And I just want to tell you, the biggest gift you can ever have is people. The biggest gift you can ever have is people, because people make the rules. The social makes the social, the rules that matter. So network every chance you get. And as we are still there, my Instagram is BOUKURU. Please follow me. If you get a chance to get in front of people with valuable input in your life, please make sure you tell them about you. Network as much as you can. And this is what I learned through Art Rwanda Ubuhanzi. The people you just saw here are all, except for Aline, they went through Art Rwanda Ubuhanzi competition. It's taking the opportunities when they come and making sure you're there, you're making yourself known, you're making yourself known to the people that are in the know. Because they won't know you if you do not. I will not know Mr. Charles from Ghana if he doesn't come towards me and tell me, hey, I'm Mr. Charles, I do this and this. I do videography, and I'd like to do a video for you. I will not dream of it. I'm not in Ghana. I will not meet you. Maybe I will not meet you. But if you come towards me and tell me, hey, even if it doesn't work, a wise man once told me, who's sitting right here, you sow. You sow. You sow. Even if you're doing it for free, you sow. You be willing to give favors for free if you think there's a valuable input in that. If you think this person is going to come back to you with valuable input in your career, be ready to sow, and it shall come back to you. Even if you do it in 70 boxes, 70 baskets, be willing to do that. And when it comes back to you, it will come in plenty. So I wish you good luck. My name is Bukuru. I hope you remember my face and everything I have to offer. I'll welcome Mr. Kimenyi to welcome the next speaker. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause for Bukuru, please. Bukuru, I would like to tell you your face is very hard to forget. Very hard. Now that we've started with our series of topics and speakers, I would like to tell the following speakers, please keep it short and sweet. People are tired, they want to go party. Speaking of which, there's a side event at BK Arena from 6 to 10 p.m. If you want to register, you go downstairs, info desk, you scan the QR code, and you're registered to attend later on. But right now, I still have you here. And before I introduce the next speaker, I would like to tell you guys this thing that one of my professors at university told me. He said, Kimenyi, when you speak in front of people, a good speech is like a miniskirt. It should be long enough to attract interest, long enough to attract the eye, long enough to cover the essentials, but short enough to attract attention. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Mr. Raymond Malinga. Do I have a Raymond Malinga in the room? Oh, yes, you do. Uganda? He's from Uganda. Can we get a microphone for Mr. Malinga, please? Mr. Malinga is...
One of you did not hand in your homework. Amir, tell me. Tell me who did not hand in their homework. It was you, wasn't it?
And then the role of technology, explore the impact of technology on the creative industry, discuss the opportunities and challenges presented by digital platform and artificial intelligence. Mr. Malinga, the floor is yours. 5 minutes. Thank you.
First of all, hi guys. There's supposed to be a video playing.
One of you did not hand in your homework. Amir, tell me.
Me? But...
Tell me who did not hand in their homework.
It's okay. Just stop it.
It was you, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't me.
I think they downloaded the wrong version, but it's okay. So first of all, I would like to say I had a speech ready, memorized. Then when Shea Mama Africa started, I was like, well, that's all I'm hearing in my head now. So I'm like, Shea Mama Africa. I'm like, it's a wonderful song. So anyway, my name is Raymond Malinga, and I'm the CEO of the Creatures Animation Studio in Kampala, Uganda. And some of our notable works are, we did a Calaban Ate My Homework. That was the trailer that was actually playing. That film was featured at the Cannes Film Festival in 2018. We have a preschool kindergarten show called Kunda and Friends. Like and subscribe on YouTube right now. And I also wrote and directed for Kizazi Moto for Disney Plus, episode 1, Herder Boy. So if you get a chance to watch that, episode 1 is mine. So just a show of hands, how many people here grew up watching cartoons? And it's the reason why I ask that question is that usually when you ask it, you get two types of people in the audience. You get those that admit it and those that don't admit it, you know? But here's the thing, everybody watches cartoons, and they have a very large impact on our lives. So, what is animation really, you know? Animation is this unique medium that has the ability to bring images to life. And that's a unique quality that animation shares that most art forms do not have, which means that you get something still, you add animation to it, and it breathes life into it. And it does this by combining art and technology. And everywhere you go, you see animation. You see it on your apps, you know, like a small pop-up. You see animation in blockbuster Hollywood movies. You see animation in these small cartoons. Animation's everywhere. So everyone who says that they did not watch animation growing up, you're actually lying to yourselves. You actually did watch animation, and it has impacted you one way or the other. And one of the most powerful applications of animation is its ability to bring forth imagination. And this is where I want to put my emphasis today. So what can imagination do? It can bring forth cultures that we've lost. It can paint visions of the future. And it can make education much more engaging. But where are the African animated stories? Most of what we watch is still from the West and the East, and there's not a problem with that, you know? But I think we might not be aware of this, but this constant consumption that comes from outside our continent is actually shaping the perspectives of ourselves from an early age. So there's a lot of, and this is an interesting thing, because I've been sitting in this audience and listening to speaker after speaker, and there's a lot of talk about what the skills we need to give people, you know? What are they going to be doing? Employment opportunities. And yes, animation has that opportunity as well. But nobody asks, what are people doing when they're relaxing, when they're not working? What are they watching, you know? And all the work that we're doing in terms of pushing the jobs opportunities is probably being countered when we're just watching and shaping our perspectives using Western and Eastern media. We need more examples of ourselves. So I would extend this to all of you. Animation is a team effort. And it's not only about the artists. It's not only about the software developers. Yes, there are software developers in animation. But it's also about policymakers. It's about all of you, the company owners. You need to look at animation as a way to shape, as a way to imagine and push the boundaries of what your businesses could actually be depicted as. So, we need visions that celebrate our people, showcase our cultures, and shape our mindsets. Animation has a role to play, imagination has a role to play, cartoons have a role to play. But there are challenges, like AI. So everyone right now is talking about artificial intelligence, you know, and losing their minds over it. But what I love about the medium that I'm in is that it is art and technology. And if you look at the history of animation, it has been steeped in and birthed in technology meeting art. And the technology has been constantly changing. And I meet artificial intelligence, and I encourage the rest of you to meet artificial intelligence as just another change. So, this is what I would say. As the rest of the world, this is what's happening in my industry right now. Large companies are downsizing. They are to accommodate AI, and it's scary. We hear the loss of jobs everywhere. And we find ourselves watching from the outskirts of this conversation. What I would say is this. I'm a glass half full kind of person. And I'm taking lessons from my industry. And what I see is this. Perhaps we don't need 1,000-person manned companies. Maybe we can have 10 100-person manned companies. Maybe we can have 100 10-person manned companies that are working together with AI, but still being able to compete globally and making these blockbusters. So what do I leave you with? Because I was given I can see he's getting nervous there. in this emerging technological landscape, as it keeps on evolving, so does my industry in animation. And whether you're a policymaker, you're a corporation, a university student, I invite you to evolve along with it. And I look forward to collaborating and creating more African-inspired cartoons. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Mr. Malinga. Thank you. Please give him a warm round of applause, please. I was commenting with somebody at the back. We all have a story as artists. The first time we introduced that idea to our parents, that we are not going to be lawyers, we're going to be comedians. It did not go very well with my dad. I told him, I'm not going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a comedian. And he said, is that a joke? I hope that's a joke. That's a very bad one, by the way. My next speaker comes from my favorite country in the world, Nigeria. Now, I would not want to insult anybody. I'm not going to say that Nigerians are dramatic. But let's just say they take something that functions very well, but they spice it up. No. A Nigerian, for instance, is not excited. He's not astonished. No, he's flabbergasted. A Nigerian doesn't express failure. He doesn't say, I failed. He says, my enemies have succeeded. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause for Mr. Adebola Williams. To talk about protecting intellectual property, please, I will not ask you to pay attention. He will make you pay attention. Adebola Williams, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. I will try not to be dramatic so that you're not flabbergasted. But I have already been flummoxed because what I thought I was speaking about is something else I'm hearing. But we would wing it, like the Nigerian way, we would share something. My name is Adebola Williams, as I said, and I'm from Nigeria. And I believe in the power of storytelling. It is no longer news that by 2050, Africa will be the most populous continent on earth. But what I need all of you to know is that this is not the first time that we're being propped up for a youth bulge. This is the second wave. And this time around, we have power that is different from the past. In the past, when they talk about Africa, they talk about resources beneath our feet. Today, it is about human capital. It is about talent and performance. It is something that is innate to every one of you. And that is why the creative sector is now taking center stage. This is a journey that I have journeyed for 21 years. And so when I hear people talk about the creative economy today, it sounds like this big fancy word. Because when we were doing it, it was more like hustling. Your IP is your biggest power. And as you continue to advocate for a respect of IP and for better policies and structure that can protect IP, I can only encourage all of you that in protecting your work, you go through all the right legal documentation. Get lawyers to look at your work, trademark your ideas, register any idea you have that you think is of worth at, in my country, they call it the CAC. I'm not sure what it's called in your country. Trademark your ideas. Create synopsis and lock them in trademarks so that even if you don't create the idea, you can earn money if someone steals your idea. But government must also play a role in introducing policies that ensure that IPs are protected. Government must ensure that banks see IP as worthy collateral. If I ask all of you in this room, what is your biggest challenge with being a creative, what will you say? What is your biggest challenge? Africa, what is your biggest challenge in being a creative? Money. Let me be bold. Government is here. Your minister from Zambia is here. Your minister from, say it so they can hear you. Funding. It breaks my heart that organizations and banks will put money in a tech platform they do not know where it's going, but they cannot put money in a creative when they can see what they are also doing. Government needs to step in to ensure that IPs are seen as valuable products that can be used in trading to receive finance. The other thing that is important that I need to tell all of you is that being a creative is hard. I know. It's almost as though that sector where people do not respect you. Is it not just to dance and sing? But you must tell them that in 2022 alone, Afrobeat was streamed 13 billion times. Afrobeat was streamed on Spotify alone. Afrobeat, 13 billion times. The world is paying attention. They are trying to consume African art. We are now the capital of culture in the world. And you cannot sit as a bystander. You might say your oil is controlled by government, but your talent is controlled by you. And so what you do as creators, you must create. You must collaborate. Do not wait for government. We do not wait for government in Nigeria. The government has come to meet the creative sector where it has grown. From Kenya to Uganda to Madagascar. Do not wait. There is a sense where artists think that they must wait for government to come and kickstart and support their art. Give them a platform. Do not wait. There is a global demand now, and if you do not rise to the occasion to create the supply, others will come and fill that gap and take your lunch. Creators must bootstrap and create until the opportunity meets them on the journey. Finally, the UN says there is a gender gap of $95 billion because of failure of gender equity on the continent. Big shout out to Rwanda. Women find it extremely hard in the creative sector. This generation, I charge all of you to dismantle the exploitation and the ceilings that are put to suppress women from rising. I charge all of you to leave a different legacy, to make sure that as we do well in different sectors, as we want to take in this global pie, that women are also on the table taking equally. And maybe I'll say finally, because I'm Nigerian. You are no longer a bystander. There was a time we waited for the CNNs and co to tell our story. Now there are 570 million Africans connected to the internet. We have a voice to tell our story. We have a voice to promote our art and our culture. We have the power to shape narratives, to tell the world who we are. No more time to complain. You are the dividers, the deciders, and the shapers of culture. So I'm going to charge all of you with one assignment. That once a week, you will tell one positive story about Africa. That once a week, you will take an unknown musician in your country and you will put their song on your social media platform. That once a week, you will promote your own culture. And that way, you will indirectly be helping yourself. Because while you promote other people will promote you. And then we can make these dollars. In Nigeria today, Mr. Macaroni, Emanuela, all of these guys are making thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of them millions, I can assure you. We're cashing out on films, on Netflix, on Amazon, on Apple TV, and the likes. Burna Boy is sleeping and we're streaming his music and he's making tons of money. The fashion designers are using Instagram and TikTok to promote themselves and create FOMO that people are paying thousands of money to buy their outfits, making unprecedented amount. Artists are using social media to promote themselves. Guys, stop scrolling away. If the internet is not making money for you, it's taking money from you. Let's use this tool and indeed make a change in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. Another round of applause for Dubole Williams, please. Our next speaker is a representative of the government of Rwanda. This goes without saying, I have no jokes. Please help me welcome Mr. Antoine Kajangwe. He's here. Mr. Antoine Kajangwe, please. Someone just asked me if you were single. It's not a joke, by the way. Is he single? He's going to say.
I'm not, and if my wife is following, hello, love. I'm very much not single. So much for not joking. But let me also start with a joke, maybe. It's very difficult to follow creatives when you have no talent. I can neither dance, I can't sing, I can't draw. So part of me is wondering, what can I say to you as creatives? What can I contribute to the creative industry? But importantly, the creative industry requires enablers. The minister touched on this in saying, creative industry requires lawyers, requires economists, requires business managers. So the business community that supports the creative industry is just as large and just as important as the creatives themselves. And so in my humble position, I want to share what we're doing as the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and more broadly, government, to support the creatives in Rwanda, but even all across the continent. The first question I asked myself was, what do we mean when we say creatives? The creative industry. What are we talking about? We've seen some of it on display here today. It's the dancers. I can at least dance Kinyarwanda, I think. It's the drawers, the animators, the fashion designers. It's a wide stream of industries and professions and talents that we must promote and develop. But the creative industry offers so much beyond the talent itself. There's backward and forward linkages throughout the entire economy. Better yet, that also gives me a job to be able to support you. But even more importantly than that, the creative industry contributes to our economy, contributes to growth of jobs and talent that must permeate across the country and the continent. What I value even more is the values that the creative industry inculates into our economy and into our people. As young people, we need positive images and songs and cultures that show our culture and the values that we want to put forward. And there's no better sector than the creative industry to do this. You've just heard from Mr. Adebola talk about social media. If we don't put on social media the values that we want to see, we'll receive the values that others want us to appropriate. So it's important that the creative industry plays this role. But creatives also allow us to preserve our culture and our heritage. Everything that we wear, to what we see, to what we dance, to how we speak, all of this starts with the creative industry, putting forward what is important. So what have we done as the government of Rwanda, and what are we doing, government of Rwanda, to support the creative industry? First and foremost, it's recognizing that this is an important sector. It's initiatives like Youth Connect, where we can have a plenary session on reimagining Africa's creative economy, where we can have a conversation, a dialogue about how important this sector is to the development of our economy, putting it front and center of policymakers' minds, that this is a sector and an industry that we must promote and we must support. Initiatives like Art Rwanda Obuhanzi, you saw Ms. Wukuru and her group of dancers and singers and talenters being able to showcase what they are putting forward, what they and what God has given them as their innate talents. Initiatives like this are important and must be supported. And so I want to thank Imbuto Foundation for continuing to put forward young people and the talented youth that we have. But initiatives is one part of the story. The other is the legal framework, the protections that the creative industry is due. Copyright, you've heard Mr. Adebola say, is protect your copyright, trademark your designs, trademark your brand, trademark your name. Ensure that it is protected in your country and across the continent so that you can reap the value from that talent and your designs and your creative exposition. So protection, legally speaking, we've developed our own domestic law, domestic regulation to ensure that we can provide this protection to you. But we also want to make sure that you can earn from that protection, can make money from that protection. And so one of it is ensuring that your protection, your trademark, your copyright can be placed in a bank as a collateral. In Rwanda, the legislation is there that assures that your protected copyright can be used as collateral. That is within our legislation. If you didn't know that, you now know, and you should go see your banker about how you can leverage off of that protection. But there is, for those of you who live in Rwanda, over the last few weeks, months, there's been a lot of debate about how do we ensure artists receive the right royalties for the use of their work. And so we're working across government to ensure that we can provide the right mechanism and the right framework for you to receive royalties on the use of your songs over the radio, the use of your artwork in libraries and elsewhere, and to make sure that you're part of the broader economy that we're. And finally, infrastructure. To be able to stand in a room like this, on a stage like this, or even when you go party across the street at BK Arena, infrastructure is important to provide you with a platform to showcase your talent. And so government must invest in more and more infrastructure that allows for talent to showcase itself and to become visible. So this is something that we'll continue to put forward and we'll continue to support the creative industry. But as I've mentioned, and I think the Honorable Minister of State touched on it very well, is when we talk about a specific talent, there is an integrated value chain that must be supported. We shouldn't think of dance as just dance. We should think of it as an entire ecosystem. Dancers need clothing, dancers need microphones, dancers need makeup, dancers need choreographers, dancers need managers, and that's just one sector. So when we look at the entire value chain, whether we're talking about animators who need computers, who need software engineers, who need drawers, if we talk about singers, they need just as many other backward and forward linkages that connect to the broader economy. And so it's important that we think about the creative industry as much bigger than just the individual talent that we see on stage. It's part of a bigger ecosystem that supports the economy and that supports industry more broadly. And indeed, 70% of people in this country are under the age of 35. 70% under the age of 35. It's a huge demographic. And so we must be able to support and encourage the growth of this sector, the growth of these youth, and ensure that the digital age, whether we're on social media or we're on computers or we're dealing with artificial intelligence, that we can build this into our policy making. But I recognize Rwanda cannot speak in isolation. It must speak to the rest of the continent. So what are we doing at a continental level? And this is my final point, Kimenyi, is the possibility that is regional integration, that is continental integration. If we talk about the African Continental Free Trade Area and what that offers to us as an opportunity to create a single market, to create connections between our peoples. It's, of course, developed the protocol on intellectual property. For those of you who know IP, you know of ARIPO, Africa Regional Intellectual Property Organization. For those of you who are in Southern and Eastern Africa. In West Africa, you know of OAPI, Organization of Africa Intellectual Property Organization. But there's never been an opportunity for these two organizations to speak to one another. For the IP and the protections that you Benin to count when they come to Rwanda, or for that protection that you have in Zimbabwe to be able to be protected in Ghana and elsewhere on the continent. That is what we're talking about. You shouldn't have to register your protection in every country across the continent. If you do it in one country, you should be able to have those protections across the continent, and better yet, across the world. And so that is the opportunity that the African Continental Free Trade Area provides, and what we hope we can continue to leverage as we move forward and as we advance our regional integration agenda. And indeed, there's a lot of continental initiatives. You've heard of CANEX, you've heard of the Global Citizen, you've heard of a number of film festivals across the continent. So we need to develop these even more and encourage more of these engagements to ensure that we can share the talent that is there across the continent. And so as I conclude, just want to once again reiterate what is important for us to take home. The protections that you have as creatives need to be permeated across the continent. We need to share these protections and ensure that what you're doing lives on not just for the benefit of yourselves, but for the benefit of the continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Permanent Secretary. Another one more, please. Some of you are not happy he's not single. I see you. Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, comes from my second favorite country in the world, South Africa. Make some noise, South Africa. I saw you guys dancing earlier. Make some noise. Why I love these people? South African can party. Oh, they can throw a party. Rwandans think they party until they meet Burundians. Burundians think they can until they meet Ugandans. Ugandans think until Kenyans. Kenyans think, all of us combined, we bow in front of Nigeria, but we are in awe when it comes to South Africa. Let me tell you, yes, you're not going to like the next part. Let me tell you how deep South Africa can party. Do you guys remember COVID? That thing, COVID? The first case that I heard of in South Africa, they took the township by storm, wearing a hazmat suit. They took the guy, quarantined him, did all the tests possible in the world. Turns out, it wasn't COVID, it was a hangover. Do you know how hard you have to party to wake up in the morning with the symptoms of a global pandemic? That's South Africa for you. Make some noise for South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, to talk to us about the multifaceted role of a creative entrepreneur, please help me welcome Madam Prudence Della Dube. is quite an entrance. Prudence de la Dube, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon, change makers, innovators. Do I have change makers and innovators in the house today? Do I have young people in the house today? I would first, this is a change of script, but I must address that I'm actually from Zimbabwe, not South Africa. Can everyone say it's giving Zimbabwe? Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everyone. It is my pleasure to be here. And I would like to invite everyone to take a deep breath in and out. One last time. In and out. Because man, oh man, I know how overwhelming it can be to be in a space like this. But this is our time. This is our moment to thrive and rise as young people, as artists, as creatives, as innovators. So forget about the rules that you were told before when you were coming up. It's our time, it's our moment, and I just want to assure everyone that you are allowed to be present, you are allowed to be yourself. Oh, to be a creative. To be a creative entails seeing things before they materialize. From grasping at wasping thoughts and kneading ideas like lumps of fresh clay, to laying each building block on the sturdy foundation of one's dreams, a visionary's life's work is to make vivid the imagery of what the future looks like, of what it smells like, of what it feels like. It is to make vivid the part that each and every one of us was meant to play in bringing that future into a reality. Oh, to be a creative means sometimes we see visions that start off as a squiggly outline, a series of unconnected dots or panoramic haze. But these initial visions have the potential to emerge as solutions that could impact millions, a single person, or perhaps ordinary people in between. See, there is no right or wrong way to be a creative, to be an artist. And not everyone may see the vision in its infant stages. No, some people might call you mad. They might call you crazy. As there is a thin line between genius and madness. I learned from 15-year-old Duduzile Sebacha that it takes a sprinkle of madness to see things that aren't there yet, and a touch of genius to assemble one's findings into something that is truly remarkable. Hailing from the golden sands of Lesotho, Dudu was a desert lily on the verge of burning bright, and this was seen through her love for design. Though she grew up in a terribly difficult circumstance, having to drop out of school, unable to pay tuition, Dudu was resourceful and attentive to the environment that she lived in. As beneficiaries of a few clothing drives organized by the young university students in her local community, Dudu's family would occasionally receive pre-loved clothing. Her love for design led her to upcycle some of these clothes to give them new life and character, because she believes that everyone should own clothes that truly speak to them, that say something about who they are. So Dudu began this upcycling project, where she would take old clothes and find different things from her environment, like beads, dazzling in the sun, marbles, safety pins, anything that she could find to add more character to her clothes. And once people in her community realized that this girl has something that everybody else does not, they started to pay her for it. Yeah, people would come flooding on to Dudu's doorstep and say, please, can you customize my own clothes? Dudu didn't realize it at that point, but she became an entrepreneur in her community. She was moved by the way people felt empowered in the new clothes that she made for them. And so she dreamed of one day creating at a larger scale. Fate would have it that a Youth Connect Creatives project would spread to different African continents, different African nations, inspiring and assisting young innovators to connect, collaborate, and realize their dreams. For all we know, Dudu could be in this room right now, sitting with us. She could be walking in the hallways, trying to start conversations. She could have sat right next to you, trying to figure out the right thing to say, to start a conversation. If Dudu was to come up to me after my presentation and ask me to tell her about my journey, I would tell her that, like her, I too started very, very young, facing challenges like limited access to technology, feeling the gap of resources, struggling financially, and sometimes even accepting low wages just to fuel my passion. But that my passion electrified my will to go on. And so despite the challenges that I faced, I would go out there and look for new opportunities, collaborating with my peers that had different skill sets from me. Like, take for example, the amazing, brilliant designers who created this. Yes, okay, this side as well. I must show everyone. I must show the whole world the work of these amazing designers. Shout out to Mateo and Bone, who continuously push boundaries in fashion, in what fashion will look like in the next couple of years. These are young people that are passionate and hungry. And so, yes, of course, I want to work with them. Oh, to be a creative, the people you will meet, the places you will go. I decided from a very young age that I wanted to live my life through creativity. That I wanted to use my talents to help creatives push through the starving artist narrative. I'm so tired of hearing that. We're not starving. We are full of so many ideas and potential, and all we need is the right space, conducive environments for growth. And yes, I told her that I am constantly learning, that I am seeking new information, and like her, dipping my toes in every single thing. Because early in my career, I had to be more than just an artist. I had to be my project manager, I had to be my director, I had to be my accountant, despite how much I do not like numbers unless they're in my account. I had to be my rehearsal manager, I had to be so many things. It was so hard to do all these things at once, but let me tell you one thing, that versatility is so empowering. It is so empowering because I may not have to do all those roles for the rest of my life, but I am rest assured I shall be in leadership positions, being able to guide people from a perspective of someone who has done the work themselves. So I will tell Dudu that go ahead, try everything and anything. There is no limitation to what you can be and what you could do. I would remind her that despite the fact that her family is still living in poverty and expects her to get a secure job so that they could improve their situation, that she shouldn't be disheartened by that. that she could only use opportunities to learn how to monetize her craft. The steady growth would work volumes in her life and transform not just her own life, but her communities as well. And I truly believe this could be true for her, because an interesting thing about Dudu's designs is she gave the clothes more than just one purpose. The design jackets that she would make could also turn into bags if you just like zipped it in a different way. The pants that she remodified could also be converted into a shirt if you wore it in a different way. Toying with the idea of modular clothing, Dudu's designs kindled a curious flame in my mind. Understanding that a lack of resources and funds is one of the most common challenges we face as creatives on the African continent today, it is imperative that we learn how to do more with less. I started to think about how modular systems could potentially rival linear or even circular systems, for they might be more dynamic, multi-purposeful, and flexible. Could this be the future of African creative industries? The fact that a 15-year-old girl who calls herself a designer is thinking more than just the clothes she makes, but about industrial change, blew my mind. And I wanted to share that with all of you today. I will let you decide what the future is for you, because we all have the power to do that. We all have the power and the discernment to learn more. The world is opening up in ways that we could never imagine 20 years ago. But today, we have the whole world and so much information at our fingertips. If we open our minds to learning, if we opened our hearts to experiencing, to taking those giant leaps of faith, only time would tell what we, the future of this continent, would do for coming generations. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Prudence Dila Dube. It has been an absolute pleasure sharing my and Dudu's story, and I hope you feel empowered today. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Della, please. As I present my apologies, really sorry about that. I hope you accept my apologies. She's from Zimbabwe and not South Africa. And I would like to tell the guy who gave me my talking points and the bios of the speakers, make me look like a fool in front of people. I will see you later. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are almost to the end of this event today. This is time for the Q&A. We will have 3 quick questions. 3. There are people with microphones in the crowd, and there's one standing next to the speakers. Please tell the people who you're directing your question to, and let's make it short and sweet so we can go on with the rest of the evening. So, do you have any questions? Please see where the next microphone bearer is next to you. Speak loud and clear. Question, suggestion, anything. Raise your hand. Somebody with the microphone will come to you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bakeba Pius, and I'm from Uganda.
Yeah.
My question goes to the panelists from Nigeria.
Mr. Williams.
Mr. Williams from the Red Media Africa.
Yes.
You talked about IP, intellectual property, how we can trademark or register our business ideas. But you have some countries here, even if you register, someone will come up and take up your business name or business idea, and there is nothing done about that. Then another question, I'm representing a startup called BNP Holdings Africa, and I think it's going to go to the Rwandan government. If someone is interested in opening a branch like here in Rwanda, what are the nitty-gritties? What are those areas or the things I have to be aware for me to enter the Rwandan market? Thank you.
I have to adjust my 44 buttons. The first question probably would require some engagement with your government, because it's not just an answer that I can give you. Your government has to, take seriously, the issue of IP, and that's why I said to you earlier that at the end of the day, for all of you as creatives, you have to bootstrap. You have to just keep trying. I myself recently went to a premiere. 2 years ago, I began to invest in films, and we did our first feature film, which hasn't been released. And then we have about 4 scripts that are being written at the moment, and 2 of them complete. I went to a premiere recently, and one of the films that we have written and completed, I sat in the premiere of a movie, and I was watching key elements of my script in that film. That is because when God gives an idea, he gives it to about 1,000 people. It is who moves first. So what you can do before the government introduces the policies is, if you have an idea, run with it. You can announce it. You can put it on Instagram. If you have access to the media, you can put it in the newspaper, even if it costs you like 50,000. Something that you can use as proof to say, I have announced this project already. I am about to do this project. And sometimes you always think you don't have access to the media. If you look in your network, you will find that you know one auntie, one uncle, one brother who owns a blog, who owns a media house that can help you put your story out there. And the final thing is, you need to begin to lobby your government. I know Afrexim is trying to do quite a bit of work in that space, in bringing governments together. Just this year, they had the Ministers' Conference, which Honorable Sandrine was part of it. Last year, I launched something called the Meter Center, and we're already doing some work even in Rwanda. And the idea of the Meter Center is to take the lessons we've learned in Nigeria and collaborate with what is happening in other countries in Africa to be able to accelerate, the creative sector. I have to say at this point, I'm got off point, but I am blown away by this man. It's my first time of experiencing Rwandan comedy. Please give me a round of applause.
Thank you.
And
this is why I love Nigeria. This is why.
I bragged him. but the point I'm making is, when you don't experience other cultures, you can assume that you're the best. And that's why it's important that you learn to collaborate, with other people. The musicians tonight, I have seen so much creativity in Rwanda. Popo showed me his new film yesterday. I am just blown away. And I think that, my friend, the way to go is to collaborate so that your ideas can birth faster. Look for other people. If you have an idea for a film, find a scriptwriter, find a cameraman, say, you know what, we all own shares in this project. That way you don't have to wait for the burden of doing it alone and somebody else doing your idea, and then you're crying and saying, oh, someone has taken my IP. You will already do it. And don't be afraid to reach across the borders. If the Egyptians are doing something well, collaborate with them. If the Rwandese are doing it, if the Kenyans, if the Nigerians, the way the world is set up now with social media, we can move faster. IPs can turn into projects faster with collaborations. So drop the veil and the biases you have about other people, open your mind, and collaborate. And the other question, I think I'll probably let the PS answer that, or maybe I'll say, check the internet. There must be a place where you can go to know how to set up in Rwanda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think he's really just touched on it. But let me clarify it. We have our Rwanda Development Board. Starting a business in Rwanda takes 6 hours. In fact, I want to have a challenge with you guys. It's 4:30 right now on a Friday. If you go online, RDB, RwandaDevelopmentBoard.org, and you apply for a business license, should get it in 6 hours. You don't need to go to RDB to do that. You don't need to go physically there to do that. Rwanda is the easiest place to do business on the continent, according to the recently published World Bank Business Readiness Report. Easiest place to do business. And it's facilitations like this that allow investors such as yourself, young entrepreneurs such as yourself, to come plug in and start playing right away. We're open. We want you to come and set up and try your businesses here, expand here, collaborate, work with Rwandans, but with the rest of the continent as well. Once you start, when you go forward, we have a one-stop center that works with you day in, day out to ensure that whatever process is required, whatever documentation, license you need, you can get it through the one-stop center. So, but it's all digital, as Adebola has just said. So please try it out. Those who accept my challenge, you can tag me on Twitter, and then we can go from there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Permanent Secretary. We have a second gentleman for a question. Let's make it a quick one. Please have one question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we agree, firstly, that there is emerging technology, specifically on artificial intelligence, and that there is a possibility that you can transmit and cause a reuse of your content or someone's content in the creative industry. Now, the question is, how are we going to address the issues that will arise from artificial intelligence with specific regard to jurisdiction in terms of enforcement? That's number one. Then two, on how best such contents that are being violated or violating the already existed content can be taken down. Now, traditionally, Africa is relying on several legislations. To mention, we have the Bonjo Protocol of 1993. We have the African Continental Free Trade Area Protocol on, of course, IP. But now these are whole laws, taking into account the fact that they came into force in 1993. Now, how will these laws help us in terms of enforcement? Remember that for someone to enforce his rights under IP, traditionally you have to Los Angeles, the US, and that is very costly for my sister who has just left the stage to meet that cost to have her rights enforced with the HICAN. So how are we going to move forward as Africa in terms of enforcing the rights of those whose content will be violated by one, the AI, and then also in terms of mitigating the cost involved in reaching out to ICANN in US. Thank you.
I love the way he says all of that looking at me. So you're talking about AI. I think your question is for Mr. Malinga. Yeah? Are you, Mr. Raymond? Is he still with us?
Hi. So there's some policy questions in there, and I'm not a politician, so I won't tackle that side. But this is how I view AI. It's an emerging technology, and there are risks, and these questions are, this debate is happening all over the world, and I'll be very honest, not many people, there are no answers, clear answers yet, but the way I view it is the things that people are protecting right now are things like large language models, and there are very few, or at least from what I understand, very few large language models that are being created on the African continent. And I think that if we accelerate into that space, maybe we have a chance of protecting those things. But as an individual level, it is still very tricky, and I do not want to lie to you and tell you that it has been solved. But when it comes to AI, in my opinion, the opportunity for AI is in speeding up the processes of producing something and not necessarily in plagiarizing. And that's the real opportunity for AI, and I would say you think about it that way.
Yes, I hope that was clear. We're going to quickly take one last question.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Atricia from Liberia, and my question goes like this. How can impact investors be attracted to support creative projects that not only offer financial returns, but also create social and cultural values?
Who was the question directed to, please?
To the Minister of Trade
and Industries.
Yes, please.
The Permanent Secretary, Mr. Antoine.
Thank you very much. You're promoting me.
Okay. Should I repeat?
Yes, please.
Okay, so how can impact investors be attracted to support creative projects that not only offers financial returns, but also create social and cultural values?
Don't look at me, man.
So that's a great question. It's a very difficult question, but let me attempt to respond to it. I think on the one hand, it's about creating value for investors. What creative or what product or service are you creating that will incentivize impact investors, angel investors, to put money towards your project? Part of it, and this is the challenge that we often face across the continent, is the ticket size and the scale of a lot of our projects. They're so minimal, they're so small that a lot of these impact investors are not able to support. And so as SMEs, as small, medium-sized enterprises, how do we collaborate? How do we work together to ensure that we build that value for investors and that we show that whatever idea I have, I can collaborate across the value chain, I can integrate across the value chain to build value, to attract those investors. So what I would say is create a product that is innovative, that is attractive, that meets the fundamentals to qualify as an investment, and you can do that by collaborating with others and ensuring that you have economies of scale and something worth investing in, right? So I hope that helps to answer your question. Great.
I'll just chip in quickly. So a number of things you can try. If you have an impact project, first of all, try to see if you can find organizations that are interested in the cause that you want to promote. That's the first thing. Second thing is, because you feel you're young, you might not be sure of the scale of this project, of the scale you can push. So remove the toga of, oh, I'm a young person, I'm trying to do a project, and see yourself as a filmmaker, and boldly look for newsmakers and top celebrities to invite them to be in your project. What he was talking about when he talks about value proposition, at the end of the day, whoever invests in your film wants to make money. And for you to sell tickets in the cinemas, or for Netflix or Amazon to buy your film, they need to see faces of people that they think will bring the audience to watch the film. And that is when you will get money. So put on your filmmaker hat and invite all the top actors that you can get your access to come and be a part of that project. And number 3, you can look for a bigger production house that already has some respect and leverage, and invite them to partner with you. You might take a smaller share, but the small of 200 is better than 100 of 10. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Williams. I do apologize for the rest of the questions, but sadly the time is not on our side. Now, for the closing remark of a very, very interesting day, thank you so much for your energy. Thank you for keeping up. We have, and I pray to God, I have already done one mistake about Zimbabwe. I don't want to do another one. I would like to please help me welcome to the stage the Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Arts, and Recreation of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Honorable Kudakwashe Mupamanga. Thank you, sir.
Allow me to acknowledge all the senior government representatives of Rwanda and from across the continent, all the heads of missions from NGOs, private sector partners here present, and allow me to salute all the youth organizations here and youth representatives here present, and those following on the various media platforms. Before I begin, let me extend my heartfelt gratitude to the leadership, the government, and the people of Rwanda for hosting such a momentous conference, for being so hospitable, and for sharing this beautiful city and this beautiful country with us. Thank you, Rwanda. The theme of our gathering is about creating jobs through innovative skilling, which is a very important factor to empowering young people. And it will aid in them thriving in today's rapidly changing job market. So I think it's clear from the speakers who have come here before me that there is need to invest in skilling initiatives and equip young people and give them the right tools to succeed and become competitive. And if they become competitive, they can tackle such challenges as unemployment and also foster economic growth. I want to speak as a government official and say that my interest in what people have been saying here today is about context. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, everything we do must have context. That context will direct us and remind us of what we are doing, why we are doing it, how we're going to do it, when, where, and who we're doing it for. Africa is the oldest continent, the oldest, the birthplace of mankind, but with the youngest population. So when people tell you that 60% of the population is below 25, that's around 800 million people, more than. That's a lot of people. And by 2050, we would have doubled in number. So what does that give us? That gives us the greatest economic potential in the world, as long as we manage to get the right investment into education and skills development. And with this, we'll bring along the technological advancement of us as Africans, as well as the social change that we seek. And this will address the challenges that we face. So I'm very grateful that we have Youth Connect, because it's a gateway that allows us to share experiences. As my brother from Nigeria just said, sometimes you think that you're good at what you're doing until you hear other people. Then you realize you don't live in a vacuum. It's not in isolation. So as we try to re-image Africa's creative industry, let us do so in the context of the African Renaissance. Let Africa's creative industry catalyze a cultural, political, and economic revival in our continent. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm saying is let us reclaim our continent's identity, heritage, and potential. Africa's creative industry must spark a reawakening. Here in Africa, we have a deep history. We have diverse languages. We have beautiful arts, sacred traditions, and value systems that we can use to foster pride. So an earlier speaker talked about confidence, and confidence in our African identity, reflecting on our African experiences and our African narratives. Because we also have a civilizational history, which has contributed immensely to humanity and the world we know today. I know that many of us grew up being told that we never contributed anything. But the fact is, Africa has been pivotal to development and economic prosperity the world over. And in the context of economic development, let this creative industry leverage on our natural resources, while at the same time protecting our precious environment. We can use these industries to strengthen our political empowerment in areas of good governance and Pan-Africanism, which will be a key component in our success. It's the unity of Africa. It's Africa as one. Good governance, not because somebody from somewhere else told us that we need to have good governance, because we want good governance for ourselves. And in education, let us drive STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Creative industries have spaces in all these areas and can create spaces in all these areas. And also in the realm of social justice and equality, we need to focus our creative industry on the protection and empowerment of rights of special interest groups, young women, young men, and be inclusive of young women and young men living with disability. And in areas of health and well-being, we can use this industry to improve our healthcare systems by trusting ourselves as Africans and trusting our age-old practices. Studies have shown that the more developed we become as Africans, the more unhealthy we become. Our Mbuyas and old Madalas in the rural areas lived long lives, thriving on herbs and eating traditional foods. But for some reason, our generation, the more we attain economic power, we want to move away from these foods. And that's why in this day and age, non-communicable diseases, not HIV, is actually killing more Africans. That's your diabetes, your hypertension, and your cancer. Because we are trusting big pharmaceuticals instead of our own herbs. So in terms of that, we can't compete with big pharma. One single drug can take $700 million to produce. And even after they spend $700 million, they might do away with the drug and fail to get to a test level. But we can always grow agro-pharmaceuticals. We have the land, we have the weather, we have the people. The creative industry must enhance our global engagement. Speakers who came before me talked about the African Free Trade Area. I'm happy that amongst us, the AU is represented. Let us not forget the diaspora, we here in Africa. And when I talk about the diaspora, there are two types of diaspora we have. There's our brothers and sisters who went to America or the US to look for job opportunities, for education. But there are also non-continental diasporans. The African Union Charter recognizes what they call the sixth region. These are people of African descent, the formerly enslaved. Amongst these people, so the people I'm talking about are African Americans. They are black British. Amongst these people, there are those among them who feel a deep connection to our continent, but have no way of engaging with us. Allow me to take this moment to acknowledge the work being done by Ghana, if there are any Ghanaians in here. They've done very well in engaging the sixth region. And these people are actually more liquid than us. They can actually bridge the gaps in capacity building and finance that we've all been crying about. My brother from Nigeria asked, what is our biggest problem? Money. We have millionaires out there who want to be connected to Africa, who went outside of Africa as a result of the slave trade and have no one to speak to here in Africa. Let us create pathways for them, and they can bridge those gaps. The one thing I am very happy about this summit is that it has shown that young people from Africa are a united front. You know, there's this Anglophone, Francophone kind of thing that happens. But young people here, there's no Anglophone, there's no Francophone, there's just Africans. And that must be commended. Young people bring unity to our continent. I think the Minister of State mentioned that the creative economy here in Africa, I think we own 1.5% of that economy. It's only about 2 million jobs out of 800 million young people. It is not near enough It means that most of our time in this creative space is consuming. We are consuming other people's content. We are consuming other people's values. We are consuming other people's traditions. But it's time that we challenge the young people in Africa to become creators and actually push out content into the world. Use the creative industries so that the world understands that Africa has and always has had a lot to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that there's something that connects preachers, politicians, and philosophers. It's that if you give them a platform, they talk too much. I happen to be a politician, and if you allow me to continue, I will continue to talk too much. But allow me to leave you with a small something. Where I come from, we have a saying. It goes, Nika, inowakwa neve nevayo. It's a simple saying. It simply means that a country is built by its own people. So here in the context of Africa, Africa is built by its own people. So I encourage all of the young people in here to join hands with other young people from across the continent to help build our Africa and go and show the world with confidence and competence in the ability that we have, in the resources that we have, in the talent that we have, in the hard work that we have, in the human resource that we have, and make an impact in the world and reposition Africa as a key component in global development. I thank you.
Thank you so very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Before we close today's session, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our very own Honorable Utumatwi Shima, Minister of Youth and Arts. I'd like to tell you something. His name literally means the person who brings us joy. Utumatwi Shima, that's what your name means. And I think it's right apropos that you're the Minister of Youth and Arts. Give him a round of applause, please. That is incredible. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, dear speakers. Thank you, Permanent Secretary. Thank you, Madam Minister of State, DG of Imbuto Foundation, Madam Melody. Thank you so much, guys, for being here, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to finish by saying this. This is a story that they tell us in the importance, in theater class mostly, the importance of art and culture in general. So the story goes like this. In the middle of World War II, some generals came to Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of England at the time, and they said, we need to cut the funds from arts and culture and send them to the war effort. And he answered, historically he said, then what would we be fighting for? That is the biggest and most beautiful sentence I've ever heard about the importance of what we do, which is carry on with our own stories and our own narrative. Thank you so much for your patience, your time, your energy. Please do refer to the protocol for the rest of the evening for the Biki Arena event. I hope you stay well. Enjoy the city of Kigali responsibly. The police told me to tell you that. Responsibly, please follow the rest of the protocol, ladies and gentlemen. Big round of applause to them for the team putting this together. Give them a big round of applause. My name is Hervé Kimenyi. I am a comedian, and it's been an absolute pleasure to speak in front of you. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your evening. I will see you tomorrow.